lied, his voice smooth and deep. Reba edged closer, hiding behind a large, fake potted palm tree. She felt ridiculous, but she needed to see what Brock was so terrified of. "Ready to start, Barbara Jean?" Jordan asked, his hand hovering near her waist. Yeah, Barbara Jean giggled. Jordan took a step back, admiring her from head to toe. "Hey, you look great in that outfit." Barbara Jean blushed, smoothing down the fabric of her athletic leggings. "Oh, well, the other woman is getting kind of baggy." Reba rolled her eyes from her hiding spot. "Can you believe her?" Reba whispered to the palm fronds. "She did the impossible. She lost all that weight and kept these fellas." She watched as Barbara Jean began to perform a series of stretches. Oh, 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 oh. Barbara Jean yelped rhythmically, though it sounded more like enthusiasm than pain. Reba decided it was time to make her presence known before things escalated. She stepped out from behind the plant and marched over to the mat. "Okay, Jordan," Barbara Jean was saying, breathless, before she spotted Reba approaching. Her face lit up with absolute delight. "Jordan, this is my friend, Reba." Jordan turned. He offered Reba a smile that belonged in a toothpaste commercial. "Hey, I am Jordan." Reba offered a tight, forced smile. "I am Reba." Barbara Jean clapped her hands together. "So, you going to join us, Reba?" Reba took a step back, suddenly feeling very conscious of her lack of athletic attire. "Oh, I do not know. I just think that me and my fellows will just watch for a while." Jordan chuckled, crossing his massive arms over his chest. "Well, Reba, you are not going to get into shape by just watching. You need to sweat a little." Reba shook her head vigorously. "Yeah, but you guys have got to understand, it has been a while since I have been in a gym like this, and I do not think—" "Hello, there," Jordan interrupted, turning his attention back to Barbara Jean. He placed his hands on her shoulders. "Barbara Jean, you really are getting limber." Reba watched in horrified fascination as Jordan guided Barbara Jean into a stretch that seemed entirely inappropriate for a public setting. "Remember when you could not put your leg over my head?" Jordan asked, his tone casual, as if discussing the weather. "Remember when I did not want to?" Barbara Jean laughed, leaning into the stretch. Reba's jaw dropped. She looked around the gym, wondering if anyone else was witnessing this flagrant display. Is that legal?" Reba stammered. "I mean, necessary?" Jordan looked over at her, his expression perfectly professional. "It is critical to stretch the muscles out before you exercise them. Yeah. Otherwise, you could really hurt something." He gently guided Barbara Jean down onto the mat. "Turn over." Barbara Jean flipped onto her stomach, looking up at Reba with shining eyes. "Reba, you need to watch this one. This one is my favorite." Jordan knelt beside Barbara Jean. "All right, now this gives a good stretch to the back and chest muscles." He placed his hands firmly on her back, applying pressure. "Really should do this once a day." Barbara Jean let out a long, dramatic sigh of pleasure. "Oh, I would do it all day if I could." Reba tugged at the collar of her sweater, suddenly feeling incredibly warm. She fanned herself with her hand. Is this one of these gyms that has the heat on real high? I am sweating." Jordan stood up, dusting off his hands. "Okay. Oh wow. Time for some weightlifting." Reba practically jumped with relief. "Oh good. That is enough of that stretching." Jordan walked over to the weight rack, leaving the two women alone for a moment. "Hello?" Barbara Jean said, beaming up at Reba from the mat. "Okay. Knock this out." She executed a quick sit-up, proving her new core strength. "Yeah, okay. All right." Reba took a deep breath, trying to process what she had just seen. I think I have seen enough." Barbara Jean stood up, grabbing a towel. "So, what do you think? You have any interest in getting a personal trainer?" Reba looked at the retreating back of Jordan, then at Barbara Jean. "Only if he takes me out to dinner first." Barbara Jean laughed, entirely missing the implication. Are you sure, Reba? Seriously, this is one of the best relationships I have ever had. Reba raised her eyebrows, her mind racing with how she was going to explain this to Brock. Oh, I think Jordan has his hands full with you. Barbara Jean patted Reba's arm sympathetically. Oh, you are a beginner, Reba. You will start with Dot. She turned and cupped her hands around her mouth, shouting across the gym. Dot. Yeah. A woman who looked like a professional wrestler, with shoulders broader than a doorway and a scowl that could curdle milk, stomped over to them. This is Reba, Barbara Jean introduced cheerfully. She seems a little tense. I would spend some extra time on the stretching. Dot cracked her knuckles, staring Reba down. Hey, get down there. Reba swallowed hard, realizing she had made a terrible mistake. An hour later, Reba returned home, feeling bruised, battered, and emotionally exhausted. Brock was waiting for her in the kitchen, pacing identical to the way he had been hours earlier. He pounced on her the moment she walked through the door. So, did you see him? Brock demanded, his eyes wide and frantic. What is he like? Is he little? Could I take him? Reba limped over to the counter and poured herself a glass of water, wincing as her newly stretched muscles protested. She looked at her ex-husband, pity mingling with absolute exhaustion. He is big, but he is not as big as Dot. Brock frowned, confused. So, what do you think? Is there something going on there? Reba sighed deeply, setting her glass down. She leaned against the counter, looking at Brock with a weary expression. Look, Brock, I was hoping that I could go down to the gym and check things out and come back and tell you that there is nothing to worry about. But Brock's face went completely white. That is it. Reba, come on. Okay. Reba held up her hands, trying to temper his reaction. I do not know if they are having an affair or not, but if they keep working out like that, they might be having a baby. Brock staggered backward, as if he had been physically struck. Man, I knew there was something going on. Before Reba could explain the context of the stretching, the front door chimed, and Barbara Jean breezed into the kitchen, glowing with post-workout endorphins. Hey, everybody, Barbara Jean sang out. I am here, and I am saying well. She stopped, noticing Brock's devastating expression. Oh, une. Brock glared at her, his posture rigid with anger and heartbreak. Do not you honey me. Barbara Jean blinked, her cheerful demeanor faltering. What are you talking about? Oh man, Brock groaned, shaking his head. Did you honestly think that I would not find out about you and Jordan? Barbara Jean looked genuinely bewildered. What? We were working out. It was perfectly innocent. She turned to Reba for support. Reba, tell him what you saw. Reba took a step back, holding her hands up in surrender. She wanted absolutely no part in this marital explosion. I do not want to get involved. Brock pointed a trembling finger at Barbara Jean. She said you are having an affair. Barbara Jean gasped, pressing a hand to her chest. Any more than I already am. She took a deep breath, composing herself. She looked directly at her husband, her voice remarkably calm. Okay. Jordan and I are not having an affair. She paused for dramatic effect. He is gay. The silence in the kitchen was sudden and absolute. Brock lowered his finger slowly, his anger instantly evaporating, replaced by a profound, echoing confusion. What? Barbara Jean turned to Reba, her hands resting on her hips in a posture of sheer disbelief. Reba, do you honestly think I would let a straight man grab my breasts? Brock choked on his own breath. Excuse me, he grabbed your breasts. He is gay, Barbara Jean reiterated firmly, as if that explained everything perfectly. Reba, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, stepped forward to clarify. He was not touching them. He was arranging them. She looked between the husband and wife, offering a tight, apologetic smile. Carry on with your lives. She turned to leave the kitchen, eager to escape the fallout. No, Reba. Barbara Jean's voice stopped her dead in her